I'm Dr. Angela McBrady of DoctorFlute.com, and today we're going to learn Köhler Etude, Opus 66, the Romantic Etudes, number 5, finger exercise. Pull out your Köhler Etude. This is Opus 66. We're doing number 5 today, and if you don't have these, you can go to my website and download them for free. The Köhler Etudes are some of the best etudes that we have in our oeuvre for our flute etudes. They're beautiful, they are romantic, they have style, they're not overwhelming, and they're a lot of fun to play. So let's take a look at number 5 here. Now, a lot of times Köhler starts with a little bit of a pickup into the melody. But I think right here in this etude, he starts right off with the melody in the very first measure. If you've been following my etudes in the last couple, you've learned that Köhler likes 4-bar phrases and 8-bar question and answer type of phrases. And he often does the same thing, 2 bars, and then sort of the same, almost exactly the same, but sometimes modified in the next 2 bars. And then he changes it for 2 bars and 2 bars. And he's doing a lot of that similar stuff here. So his style is following him through this particular etude. But I really like this one. It's a lot of fun. Now, if you take a look at the beginning here, let's just play through the first 2 measures. Okay, we're leading into that 3rd measure. You'd have a nice run in the 2nd measure up to that D in the 3rd measure, and you want to let it follow. But back to the 1st measure. He kind of likes half steps in this particular etude, and there's a lot of just these little play, I feel like they're play on words. There's a play on the half step. So he starts with this B, half step to a B flat, back to a B, and then we're up to that D. So I like to just bring out that B, B flat, B. Just play that. The B, B flat, B. So you're just doing 2 beats in the first measure. B, hold it for 2 beats. B flat, hold it for 2 beats. And then the next B, you hold for 4 beats. And then you're going to play. It's leading to that high D in measure 3. I'll do it again. Now, once I know that, now I know that I need to bring out those notes while I'm playing the other ones. So let's do that into measure 3. Did you hear that? I tried to bring out B to B flat to B, and then crescendo all the way up to that D. Now, in measure 3, we're coming down. I feel like we're sort of skipping down a little bit, coming down. It's very playful right here. But you'll see there's some more important notes and less important notes in this. Let me just play it as it's written. In the next measure, we do the same thing. All right, let's take a look at those 2, measure 3 and measure 4, the end of our first 4 bars. We're coming down, basically arpeggiating down with a little ornament on the side. So measure 3, I'm going to just play the notes that are the beginning of the slurs, or the ones that are descending. Measure 4, the same thing. Measure 5. And we slow down just a little bit with the harmonic movement, and I'm going to go up on, we're arpeggiating up here, but 1 note per beat. So now I'm going to play the F sharp, the A, the C sharp, E, and measure 5. Now C natural. Okay, now let's put that together from the beginning, only going to play the important notes, nothing else. So the beginning with just the B for 2 beats. Ready? Okay, once I've outlined that, and it doesn't have to be in total rhythm, you just want to put it in perspective and really understand what the harmonies and the melody that is going on there. Now I can put back the other notes. So I'm going to start in measure 3, and I'm going to put it all together, but I want to bring out the descending arpeggios in both measures of 3 and 4. Now measure 5, I'm going to bring out the first note of each beat going up. All right, so you can hear those harmonies building, and it gives some shape. So it's just not a whole bunch of notes and it's just making your fingers work, but there's some shape to it. And if we crescendo and diminuendo, maybe as we go down, and crescendo as we go up, or move toward, and we're going to be moving towards our cadence now, we have some shape to those first 8 measures. Let's look at measure 6 because we have a little bit of a fake out here. I'm going to play measure 5 and into, I'm going to stop on beat 3 of measure 6. It kind of feels like that should be the cadence for the first phrase. That in measure 6 we have a cadence, but actually it's a bit of a fake out. He's just saying, wait, so I'm just going to extend this cadence a little bit, and you'll see. So I will play I'll start in measure 6, and I will play on into the beginning of measure 8. All right, so now we know measure 9 goes back to the original melody. So 6 and 7 prepare us for measure 8, which is our true cadence. And then we're going to crescendo and really phrase as we go into measure 9 so that we are prepared for the return of the melody. We've got that figured out. There's a little bit of fake out. He's going to do that again. That's repeated later on here. Let's play the first 8 measures as written. All right, so I phrase that run the 2 beats before measure 9. There's a little bit of a hesitating, slowing down ever so slightly, but I'm giving it a little bit of a broader pull with my tone so that I'm ready for takeoff right again in measure 9. Now I just wanted to go back in the first measure, and this is a total preference thing, but you have B, and then you have the B flat, and then you're back to B. Now you could, if you're using your F B flat, you're probably using the slowest one, and I wouldn't recommend you use that. Oftentimes when it's a chromatic movement, you want to use this. If I was really quickly going from a B to a sharp back to a B, I'm going to use my lever here. In this instance, because it's not wicked fast, I'm rolling on and off. And if that works well for you, I think it's the most efficient. So if you're not using that, maybe you want to try using that. Okay, we're to measure 9. And now the same thing is happening here. And well, we changed. Okay, we did not go to a C sharp. We went to a D when we went up that run before. We've got our half steps again. C, C sharp into the, where are we? Yeah, C, C sharp, right into measure 11. So we're leading into a C sharp, and that means we're going to start thinking about the development section, the middle section that changes things. All right, so, oh, go back to 9. And there I am, and measure 11. Okay, so what's happening there? Measure 9 and measure 10, basically, like the beginning, we changed at the end of measure 10. Now we have these cascading arpeggios coming down. So we start on C sharp, G, E, C sharp, now B, natural, in that measure, in measure 13, all you're doing is really outlining a G chord because you're in the key of G, and you're just mixing all those G, B's, and D's right there. Measure 14, we've got our B. We're still out kind of having that G chord going through there. And into 15, where we're winding down and going to end in measure 16. And there we have the whole opening. Okay. Now I like to, going back to measure 11 and measure 12, play for 2 beats, just the first note of each of those cascading runs going down. So I'll start with C sharp, and then G, then E, then C sharp. We're going down to that B because it helps me hear that's the run. Those are the notes I want to bring out of those runs, and I'm going to build it a little bit. It says to diminuendo as you go down. I don't think you really need to worry about that because it comes out. It's going to sound a little bit like that anyway because you're starting high and ending low, and that your ear kind of picks that up without you having to add to it. So I wouldn't really think about diminuendoing through there. Okay, so measure 11. Now we're in measure 13 and outlining the G chord. And again in 14. Now here we come with that same sort of exercise that was in measure 3, coming down on the and ending on our tonic in measure 16. So it's really kind of cool. Just play measure 15 again. I really like that. We have a little G sharp in there to throw us off, and then we end on G. Now, measure 15, let's put all those notes together. And I also wouldn't crescendo going up that run. It crescendos automatically. So, measure 9 through measure 16. Here we go. And when I get to 16, I want to land on that bottom G and just sound like I want to make it a little bit sticky, not make it really long, but land on it so we all know, oh, we're home. And then you just arpeggiate up. Starting in measure 17, we have our little development where he goes into B. He likes to have A, B, A form. And now we're changing it up a little bit. Okay, so that's your B section. Now, I like to look at 18 and 21 have this. That was 18, measure 21. So we have our little chromatic, our little half step thing going on there. I like to hear that. I want to hear that in my ear and to say, you know what, I want to bring that out. And make sure that I tongue the end of beat 4 in 18, it's a D, into measure 19, that C sharp. D, dum, that half step there. And the same thing when I'm in measure 21. F sharp to the, changing it. That's not a half step this time. So we fooled the ear. We were supposed to go to a half step there. But I want to pull those out and play them and see, can I phrase them properly into the measure after that, the first beat. Now, let's come up this run and make sure in measure, we're going to go back to 17 where the B section begins, and make sure you're growing up on that run. Da, 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 dee, up to that D. You don't want to think that it's crescendoing, but you want to think that you're pushing into it. You have air pressure that pushes up as you go up that run. So I don't want to crescendo, but I'm pushing. I have a lot of push support in there. All right, so you can hear that. I'm pushing up into that. We go measure 17, 18, and then measure 19. So again, half step C sharp for 2 beats, D for 2 beats, and then we get to that high E. So it's a nice little movement there. Measure 21 or measure 20, you're holding that E for 2 beats, and then you drop down to a D and a D sharp and an E. So we're still keeping the idea, our ear wants to hear that E, but we're giving 2 approaches to it. The first one in measure 19, C sharp, D to E, and then in measure 20 to 21, D, D sharp, E. Okay, we've got through all of that. We're in measure 22 now. So it's sort of our same thing, right? And then here we go. Same idea. I knew there was a third one in this little section. And we're on G sharp in measure 23. So we're building into the end of B, and then we're going to be back to our A theme in just a minute. Okay, so now in measure 23, we have 2 beats of a G sharp, 2 beats of an A. Measure 24, we have that C dropping down to the F sharp, and I like to take a breath after the F sharp on beat 3 because it helps me to go, I've got enough air now to phrase into back to our main theme, our A theme again. Measure 24. So I'm going to take a breath after the F sharp and then push support that little run into measure, what it would be, 24, 25, measure 25, which is our original theme. Okay, let's play the whole B theme again. I am starting in measure 17. Want to stop there because you want to hear that A theme again. Are you with me? All right, here we go to the ending. We have a little bit of a twist on our A theme, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so here we are doing the same thing. I'm going to do the run into our A theme. So I will start in measure 24, the last two beats. So there's our fake out again. So far the same, right? Okay, so here we are. And here, measure 35, the same thing, going to a C sharp instead of the D. And here we go to the end. It's just a nice ending outlining that G arpeggio. I like to do the last measure 37 and 38 and 39 and just think, okay, all I want to do is have our 5 to 1 and outline that arpeggio, just get us to that home. And that's all you're doing here. That's all a G chord. That was in measure 37. And so we make a nice phrasing at the end, push all the way up. I wouldn't do a whole lot with measure 37 and 38, just, let it be nice. Don't play softly, don't play loudly, just keep your energy through there and then push on the run all the way to the end. And there you've learned the entire Köhler Etude. Learn it in sections, learn it in 8 measures at a time. See where you outline chords, what chords are they. It makes it more interesting to play when you know that you're pulling out certain notes, and a lot of times it's the chord structure that you're pulling out, so that you don't think that every note is important. They don't all have the same weight to them. So have fun working on this Köhler Etude. It's a great piece to play. Download them from my website if you don't have them, and get started working on this today. Have fun. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe, comment below, and share it with your friends.